Hey guys, it's Mrs. Oatley again. Today we're working on homework help 8-3 and 8-4, so you won't have a homework assignment, you won't have a homework notes assignment for 8-4, but we're going to talk about making data groups equal and using the mean, okay? So first off, you're going to notice my paper. I have three main vocab words. I have three main vocab words that we are going to be working on and reviewing. We've got mean, median, and mode, okay? Mean is the average. You might hear the saying, the mean teacher averages the grades. Mean is just another word or a synonym for average, okay? Go ahead and write this definition down. To find an average, or the mean, add up all the pieces of data and then divide the number of pieces of data. So go ahead and pause that and get that definition written down. Okay, after you have that definition written down, I want to go ahead and give you an example of how you can find the average, okay? So an example would be, I have got a group of data. So I've got 7, 5, 6, 6, 3, 4, and 0. Okay, now if I want to find the average or the mean of this group of data right here, I need to add up all the pieces of data and then divide by the number of pieces. So I need to add 7 plus 5 plus 6 plus 6 plus 3 plus 4 plus 0. And the answer is 31. Okay? Now, once I add those all up, I'm going to divide by the number of pieces of data. Well, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I need to divide 31 by 7, and we remember how to do fractions there. 7 goes into 31 4 times, 28, 29, 30, 31. 3 left over, and I'm going to keep my denominator. So the average of this group of numbers here is 4 3/7. Okay? Now, next we're going to talk about median, and I'm going to give you a minute to write this definition down. Median is another word for middle, the middle number in a set of data when data is written from least to greatest. So go ahead and pause the video, write the definition down, and then unpause when you're ready. Okay, so after that, we're going to do a couple examples of the median. Okay, so here we have example 1. I've got 0, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, and 7. Okay, now it says median is the middle number in a set of data when data is written from least to greatest. So this is written from least to greatest. Least to greatest is the big keyword there, okay? So the middle number here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers, which means since I have an odd number, I'm going to have a middle. So I've got 3 on this side and 3 on this side, and in the middle, my median is 5. Okay? So see how I just went in, and whatever was in the middle, or the median, is the middle. Okay? Now example 2. This set here is 0, 4, 9, 11, 15, 19, 20, and 20. Okay? So I always like to count. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, well, I know when I have an even number that I'm not going to have an exact middle, okay? So I've got 2 and 2 and 3 and 3 on each side, and then I'm left with 11 and 15. When you have a set of data that is even and you don't have a distinct middle, you have 2, you then need to find the average or the mean of those two numbers. So I can do 11 plus 15, and 11 plus 15 is 26, okay? So I've added the 2 to find the average, and then I divide by 2 because I have 2 sets of data, so the answer is 13, okay? So these examples here are going to be really, really helpful when you are doing your assignment. This set of data is odd, and this set of data is even. So when it's odd, you're going to have one number, but when it's even, you're going to have two numbers, and you have to find the mean or the average of those two numbers. Okay? I'm going to slide my paper up a little bit. I have to look under here. I'm actually going to go shut the blinds really quick. I think the light is maybe making it a little hard. Okay. So next we have the mode, okay? And mode means most common, okay? The mode is really simple. It's the number that is the most common in the data set. So again, if you need to pause that to write that definition down, go ahead. And then when you're done, we're going to do some examples, a few examples of mode, okay? So here is example 1. We've got 0, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, and 7. So looking at that data set there, which one of those numbers is the most common? Well, 6 is. Because 6 is in this data set 2 times. Now, notice it's mode and most. Most and mode. That's kind of how I remember. Mode is the most common. They both have that same beginning sound, okay? Now, example 2. I have 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. Well, I don't see any duplicates there, okay? So there is no mode. There is no most common number. In example 3, I'll slide that over a smidge. I've got 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, and 9, okay? And, we've got 2 4s and 2 5s, and I have exactly 2 4s and exactly 2 5s, so not one of them is more common than the other. So the mode for this would be 4 and 5, okay? And on example 4, we have 0, 0, 0, 4, 15, and 16. Well, the most common number in the data set is definitely 0, but we wanted to do an example with a 0 in it because I think sometimes people think, oh, a 0 isn't a number, so it can't be a mode, okay? Now, moving on to some of the problems that you might see on the assignment. I'm going to slide this up a little bit so you can see. Here I have some quiz scores. Go ahead and pause and get those put in. Okay, and then when you are done, we'll go ahead and read the question. It says 8 students took a 10-question quiz. The number of correct answers each student scored is shown at the table of the right. what is the mean of the data? Well, I've got my data here, okay? But I'm gonna look back up here to my definition, and the mean is the average. So you add them all up, and then you divide by the number of pieces of data. So I'm essentially going to, go ahead and write this down, add 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 5 plus 8 plus 6 plus 7, okay? And to save everyone a little bit of effort on adding those, I'm just going to tell you that it's 56, okay? So I have 56. So I'm going to go look back here at my instructions. I've added them all up, and then I want to divide by the number of pieces of data. So I had, well, it told me, let's see, here's my data, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 56 divided by 8. Well, 8 goes into 56 7 times. So it says the number of correct answers is shown at the table of the right. What is the mean of the data? 7 questions correct, because this was the number of correct answers. Okay, now turning over to the back side. On the back, I went ahead and put my data in on the table, so please pause the video and go ahead and get that data put in. Okay, now that you're ready, it says Andrew wants to tell his family about his homework scores, shown in the table on the right. Andrew believes it would be easier for his family to make sense of the mean or the average score than it would to look at individual scores. What is his mean score? Well, again, you average and divide by the total. So I'm going to add 90 plus 84 plus 93 plus 97 plus 91. Sorry, I had to squish that in. And you know what, guys? The answer is 455. Okay, and now what am I going to divide that by? You're right, I'm going to divide it by the number of scores he had. So he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, you know, I could set this up long division, okay? But I happen to know the answer already because I've already worked it out. And 5 goes into 5 goes into 455. It goes in 91 times. Okay, so his mean score is 91, or his average. Okay, number 3. Again, really quickly, I would like you to pause the video, go ahead and get those numbers put in. We've got Ethan and Davis. These are X's, meaning no points, okay? And then, well, we'll talk about this in a minute. And then write Ethan and Davis on the side. So get your paper looking like mine, okay? Go ahead and pause, get that done, and when you're ready, come back to the video. Okay. So it says, number 3, the number of points Ethan and Davis scored for their basketball team. The Sparkly Unicorns is shown at the right. What a dumb name for a team. Okay, Davis missed the first 2 games of the season. Oh, that's why. So he didn't score 0 points, or they would have been zeros. Maybe he had his tonsils out, maybe he was sick, maybe he was recovering from the coronavirus, we don't know, okay? But he was not at those 2 games, okay? But says which player made a greater contribution to the team on a game-by-game basis. Now this is tricky because you might look at this and be like, well, it's definitely Ethan. I don't need to do any work here. It's definitely Ethan because Davis missed 2 games. But that's not the question. The question says, which player made a greater contribution on a game-by-game basis, okay? So for Ethan, we want to take his points, which are 5 plus 8 plus 1, oops, plus 1, plus 12, plus 9, plus 4, plus 10, plus 7, okay? So if we add that up, we've got 56, okay? And he had, that's the total, but remember we still have to divide that by what? Right, by the number of games. So he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He had 56 points in 8 games. So his average, Sadie, quiet. His average was 7 points per game. Okay? Now we're going to do the same thing for Davis, okay? But we're going to look at Davis's column, okay? So Davis, he missed those 2 games, so I'm not even going to add them in. I'm just going to put parentheses 11 plus 7. Can you guys see okay? Okay. 11 plus 7 plus 6 plus 6 plus 8 and plus 10. Okay? So I'm going to add all that up, and it happens to equal 48. And I only know that because I already did it. Okay? But this time, what are we going to divide by? No, we don't want to divide by 8 because Davis wasn't there for 8 games. He was only there for 6 games. You're right. So we're going to divide that by 6, and 48 divided by 6 is 8 points per game. I like to circle my answer because I have so much writing down. Okay. And the last 2. These ones are a little bit tricky, but I want to show you how to navigate them so you know how to do it on your own. Okay? It says, in Mr. Sterling's science class, the mean, or the average, of 4 quiz scores and a final test score determine a student's science grade. During the unit, Annie's scores on the 4 quizzes were 95, 99, 86, and 94. What is the minimum score Annie must earn on the final test in order to have an overall grade of 90%? Okay, so I want to walk you through this. The one thing I notice is that it says 4 quiz scores and a final test score, which is 5 assignments. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and we don't know the 5th, but we know that she needs a 90. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to set this up, okay? So I've got the 1, 2, 3, 4 scores, the 4th one, which I don't know, okay? And I'm going to put in what I do know. So let's not focus so much on what we don't know, and let's focus on what we do know. So we know that we've got 95. We know we've got 99. We know we've got 86. And we know that we've got 94. We don't know that 5th score, but we do know, okay, that overall she needs a 90. Okay, overall she needs a 90. Okay, so as what we're going to do is we are going to set those up, divide by, what are we going to divide by? Well, we're going to divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because although we don't have 5 pieces of data, we will have 5 pieces of data. Okay? Now, instead of taking all these and dividing by 5 to get our answer, we already have our answer. So we're going to do the opposite. When it gives you the answer, instead of dividing, we want to multiply. Okay? So we want to multiply 90 times 5. Well, 9 times 5 is 45 with a 0 on the end, and that whole thing equals 450. Okay? Now, we need 450 points here divided by the 5 scores to equal 90. Okay? But we don't know what this score is. So we're going to add 95, 99, 86, and 94. We're going to add that up, and that equals 374. Now, we're going to take the total of points that we need, 450, and we're going to subtract that from 374. And we get 76, okay? So we took what we didn't have, and instead of dividing by 5, we took what we did have and we multiplied by 5. Okay, now here is the last one. I want you guys to set this one up on your own. It says the average age in years of the 4 people in Jorge's family is 25. Jorge is 12 years old, his mom is 38, and his dad is 41. How old is Jorge's sister? Okay, so I want you to pause. I want you to figure that out, put it in, and try to come up with the equation. And then when you're ready, press play. So go ahead and pause and get that filled in. Okay, so I'm going to put in what I do know. I know that the average age in years of his family is 25. So I'm going to put in what I do know. I also know that he is 12. Can you see okay? Yeah, he's 12. His mom is 38. And his dad is 41. Now again, we don't know this last number, okay? But we do know that we would have to divide by 1, 2, 3, 4. We would have to divide by 4, okay? But because we don't have all the information, instead of dividing by 4, let's do the opposite and let's multiply it by 4. So 25 times 4, well that's nice and easy. Our total here for this whole set needs to be 100. Well, if I add 12 and 38 and 41, I get a total of, right, 91. So now I can take my 100 and subtract 91, and I am left with 9. So how old is Jorge's sister? She must be 9. I'm going to put YO for year old. So she must be 9 years old. Okay? Oh, and on this top, this is 76%. Okay. So that was just a brief review. You should know this already from last year. Mean, median, and mode. Practice doing it. And then these two here are maybe the toughest ones. But if you have your homework notes out, you should be able to do this. Okay? Now I do want to apologize because my dog is going crazy, but it's because my kids are out in the backyard playing basketball and she gets really jealous. So I will see you again for, I believe we're going to be doing 8-5. Okay? So see you then.